Hello, farmers, and welcome to another episode of the harvest season. My name is Johnny,
My name is Cody.
and we're here today to talk about farming games.
Specifically farming games.
Specifically farming games. We don't do that cottagecore stuff anymore.
No, farming.
Today we are going into ground that Al promised to never ever cover, and we are covering it. Today we are talking about Farming Simulator, more specifically Farming Simulator 22. I believe that's the version we both played, but I don't think any of the versions are really that different, so just assume that this applies to every single Farming Simulator game that's ever existed. But Farming Simulator is what we will be covering today. And before we get into things, reminder that transcripts are available in the show notes and on the website. So if you need those, go check them out. Before we get into the news and Farming Simulator, Cody, what have you been playing?
I've been playing PhD Simulator, wherein I'm getting PhD in my real life, and I passed my comps. So
Congratulations.
It's just a big old exam that's like basically testing if I'm capable of doing the thing. And my committee have said, yeah, you're capable of doing the thing. Go do the thing. So I now have 2.5 years to get my stuff done.
Amazing.
That's the timeline that I have set. It is amazing. I'm excited to just like not have, like, I'm done with classes. I'm done TAing. I'm done with all that stuff. I'm still president of the Graduate Student Association. I'm still choosing to do that. But like, I'm doing that and just getting my crap done. So super excited about that. For games, I definitely played Farming Simulator, but I also have been playing this Tetris game on my phone. I've been enjoying that.
Is it just Tetris, like, you know, old school Tetris? It's not Tetris with like...
It's Tetris, but like, so like it does the normal thing, and then it like gives you like a mission. There's like, you get a certain amount of stars per level, and you'll have these like daily quests of like get a certain amount of stars or clear 160 lines or something like that. And so you play enough games to like beat those goals, and you get points that you can then use to buy things in real life. Like I can cash points in. I've actually talked about this game, I think, when I was talking to Bev during one of my last podcasts with them, Capybara Spa, when we were playing Capybara Spa. But you can like buy a cruise, which it's sounds.
I'm not sure if this is Tetris or if this is a cult.
No,
this sounds like a cult.
It's literally Tetris, I guess. Yeah, it's literally Tetris. I'm on level 170, y'all. But yeah, my VIP rewards are these things, and this is just like the Tetris app. Like it's the people who own Tetris and everything. And so I can, if I get one day of a big bus tour in Las Vegas, I can get a second day for free with 5,000 points, which is nothing. I can get a free entry. Is this a free? Oh, no, $10 off a general attraction ticket to Madame Tussauds in Sydney, Australia. I can get a free ticket to Cirque du Soleil.
I am so confused about the entire business model behind this app, but it does sound like you're just like knee deep in like some MLM scam, and
yeah, I'm just playing Tetris, and from playing Tetris, it gives me free stuff. So, I haven't cashed anything in yet, obviously. I mean, I guess I put one entry in to win a cruise to the Middle East. It's like a 7-day cruise for 2 people in airfare. Crazy. I doubt I'm going to win it. But, yeah. That's like the biggest thing I've been playing. What about you?
What have I been playing? Well, before I get into what I've been playing, we need to have, like, we're going to bring a little bit of the greenhouse into the main episode, because we need to talk about some Eurovision.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, I was, like, when I listened to the episodes on Eurovision, I was on board with you and Al, not really being that big on the Swedish song, which ultimately won Eurovision. But I really liked this year's sort of Eurovision playlist, and so I was kind of listening to it more and more. Yeah. And that was absolutely the right choice for the song to win. It is far and away the best song. It's so good.
Johnny, no.
So good. And so I just...
How could you do
Cha Cha
that?
Cha, it's not even top five. Like, it was fun on stage. I get why it got where it got. Like, it was a fun song, but it's not even top five. So
My
like,
boy.
Tattoo, great
Yeah.
song.
No.
And the Unicorn song, also very good.
No. I don't like the unicorn song at all.
It's
I think
so
like
good.
I liked that song. That was Israel, I think. I liked that song up until the point where I'm like, okay, yeah, I can get behind the song. And then she's just like, I'm a unicorn. And I was like, what? And
Yeah,
then
that's how I felt initially.
in the music video, she's like actually like a unicorn. Like she's like a centaur unicorn thing. It's crazy.
It's
I don't
crazy good. That's what it
know.
is. It's crazy good.
No.
So, and if you want more in-depth Eurovision talk, even though it's now like been like 2 months since Eurovision happened, you can find the Greenhouse episodes if you sign up to the Patreon, and you can hear Cody and Al be really wrong about all of the Eurovision songs.
I mean, I'm still listening to them. I literally like earlier was listening to I listened to Cha 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 and Who the Hell is Edgar and Sora Alicia Luna, and I still listen to them on a pretty much daily basis. The ones that I like, I don't listen to Tattoo. She can get her weird fingernails out of here. So are you, as someone from New Zealand, are you like morally opposed to Australia winning?
No, I don't know. It's a fun song competition, right? And like I thought the Australian song this year was good.
No, I love it.
And for me, part of the whole appeal of Eurovision is a diverse range of countries bringing sort of different takes on music that's important to them. And so yeah, I feel like Australia adds something different, right? Like I compare the, Australian version of rock to the more sort of German version of rock, which I think we got two great examples of
Yeah.
in this year's Eurovision, and they're just different sorts of music. So I think it's totally fine for Australia to be in there. And as much as I would like for New Zealand to be in there, we just don't care enough as a country to like actually put in the effort to get ourselves involved. So
Yeah.
I don't see that happening anytime soon.
That's fine. That's funny.
But aside from that sort of Eurovision diversion, I've been playing a lot of Diablo 4.
Okay.
It's just like I love a good sort of action adventure, sort of switch your brain off,
Yeah.
kill hundreds of thousands of the same thing sort of on rotation and watch numbers go up. And this is just a very good version of one of those sorts of games where you don't really have to think and you can kind of just play, and it's pretty fun. And this is just a really, really good version of one of those games. And so it's like, well, it's not one where it's like, oh, this is going to bring a whole bunch of new people into the genre, because it is just the same thing that Diablo has always been. But if you are into that sort of thing, then I would find it hard to believe that you would not enjoy this version or this iteration of it. So that's been a lot of fun to get into.
Okay. I played 3, I think, Diablo 3. And it was all right, but like I got through and I beat the main boss thing, and then with my ex, like we were playing together, and then I hit a point we beat that, and then I was like, okay, now what? And he's like, we do it again with a harder difficulty, and I was like, you lost me. Like, I really like story, and so I can't. If I want to do something over and over and over and over and over again, it's going to be Minecraft. So.
Yeah, well, so it's going to be interesting because I think it sounds like you played Diablo 3 at the start, where it was very much like go through and play more on harder difficulties. And Diablo 3 got a lot better once they sort of removed some of that stuff. And I will say that I find so I finished the campaign in Diablo 4 and actually found it to be a really compelling story. And it's a fairly it's nothing special or unique that's going on for people that know Diablo stories, but it's a really good version of one of those. They have some awesome looking cutscenes, and then once you sort of beat the main game, the post game stuff is like, it doesn't want you to go through and play the campaign again. It's like kind of like, hey, play the campaign once and then go and do the other stuff if you're interested, and if you're not, then don't. But also it feels like there will be a decent amount of, whether it's downloadable content, like I don't know if it's going to be paid or free, they're going to go into a sort of season-based thing. So it feels like there will be more to build on the story as Diablo 4 progresses, which I also think is cool, rather than just going through and playing the same boss fights and the same story over and over again. You kind of do that once and you experience it, and then if you're into the sort of, I just want to play Diablo and I don't, I'm not interested in the story element, there's going to be enough there. So I think they've got a lot of those elements right, where if there's an aspect of these sorts of games that you're into, it's designed so that you can have that experience and not feel like you're missing out on other stuff, which I think is really nice.
That's cool. Like if they're adding more story, it kind of sounds like a World of Warcraft like expansion, but just the game. It's just like a full game, because the expansions would start out with just one raid or just a couple raids, and then like as the expansion progresses, they'll add more raids and add more story.
That's definitely how it feels like it could progress, where they could say like, hey, you got to the end of the main story, but like most video game stories, there's still a bunch of other things that could happen that we've sort of set up, and then those things could roll out and happen over time, where I wouldn't be surprised if they could just turn this version of Diablo into a long-lived, sort of more live servicey sort of game, like a World of Warcraft. Like it has a lot of longevity is sort of my takeaway. So it's really cool.
Cool. Well, we can jump into our news now. So first up is, I always love Story of Seasons names because I always try and say them just phonetically. So like when it was Story of Seasons, Pioneers of Olive Town, I called it Sauce Poot. And so this is Sauce All.
Sauce All.
For A Story of Seasons, A Wonderful Life. So this is the Harvest Moon, A Wonderful Life, like revamp, right? Like this is an 18-year-old game and they're revamping it. And so they have, but instead of it being a Harvest Moon, now it's Story of Seasons, blah, blah, blah. They have another localization blog. So this is a blog that like goes into detail about how they are changing the game from the 18 years ago and how they're making it updated. So some of it is like text-based stuff. So it's reformatting the game text so that it's up to date, so that things make more sense. I think that there were some language, like miscommunication things in the original game, like something about eating coins. I don't know.
Yeah, there was a number of like weird translation things in the original, and so they're updating everything to be a lot more based on the original intent, which has been interesting because I know it's generated a bit of controversy is the wrong word, but some people who played the original, I think particularly around character names, are a bit sad because they have connections through to those characters from 18 years ago, and now seeing their names be updated to be more true to the original intent is obviously a change. As one of those things where it's like, either opinion is valid. What I really appreciate is that they've been really transparent with why they're making the change and why they're doing what they're doing. So it's not a like, hey, we're changing it for reasons. And, I think even for a number of them, it was there maybe was some problematic elements in the way things got translated, and so moving away from those. So I think in general, it's just like the transparency on why they're making the changes is the thing that I appreciate most. Yeah.
I really like that. And then something that I am here for 100% is that this new game has they, them pronouns. So it has a non-binary option, and you can marry whomever you want. And so the they, them pronouns, it changes everything. So they had an example in the blog of like, if you were a guy, then someone would call you or refer to you one way. If you were a female, then they'd refer to you a different way. And then if you have chosen the non-binary option, they like refer to you like a third. There's a whole third separate way that they refer to you. So it's not going to be like you choose the non-binary, but then because you chose the more feminine character, everyone calls you she. Like,
yeah,
they went through very specifically to make sure that you're represented, and that everything is going to align with your gender pronouns.
Yeah, and I think this is such a good move because I feel the last few years we've seen in so many games where they're doing remakes, there's been a lot of hiding behind the like, well, like they, them pronouns, or the ability to date whoever, or, whichever sort of more inclusive feature wasn't in the base game. So we're not going to build it into the version that we're, making now because we want it to be true to the original. The whole idea of being true to the original is kind of just like a misnomer. So if you want it to be true to the original, just go back and play the original, right? Like just turn it into a straight port. But when you're rebuilding the game like this, when you're updating the visuals and the graphics and those sorts of things, I know it's more work to go in and build in these options, but these are the sorts of things that I think is important to put that time into doing and making these games more inclusive. So it's just really good to see that. To see that happening here with this game, and hopefully that becomes, the standard going forward. And, I just looked to some of the old remakes of Pokemon games, and every time you go back and play, like a Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl or whatever, and you're kind of just forced back into that binary choice. And it just feels out of date, right? And it takes people out of the game, and there's nothing about that's about holding true to the original. It's literally just outdated concept that they wanted to bring forward because it's the easy option, right?
Yep. It's taking the easy way out. Like if I want to play, I guess there's two ways to do it. Like some people probably want to play it because they want to play the original and have nothing be different except for updated graphics, which cool, live your life. But there's probably the majority that remember playing that game and remember like, oh, if I could have done XYZ, like if I could have been non-binary, or if I could have married whomever I wanted, or whatever it is, like that would have made the game so much better. And so,
and for those people that want to experience it the way it was, you still can.
You can,
because you can still pick the original pronouns, and you can still choose to date whoever you wanted. You're not forced to pick these different pronouns and go and date. Like none of that is forced, right? So if you want to experience that, you still can.
It's the ability is still there. So
yep.
So yeah, I love that. Sauce All is now available. I think there's...
We really buried the lead. It's out, right?
Yeah.
we probably should have led with the fact this game is out and everyone is playing it.
Yeah, it's available. It came out. And I think that this blog was mostly I think this blog was like the day before it came out, but it basically explained some of the different changes that you are going to see if you're playing it.
And while we're on Story of Seasons, I was just looking through Game Pass last night, and I noticed that Friends of Mineral Town is now on Game Pass as well, which is, so if you're like, maybe I do want to go back and play a Story of Seasons, but I'm not sure about purchasing a game, and you have Game Pass, you can go and play Friends of Mineral Town now on Game Pass. So it might have been there for a while, but it was in the recent release, so I don't believe it's been mentioned on the show. So
yeah, I think it just got put on there because I noticed that because I just signed up for Game Pass for Farming Simulator, and I was looking at what else was available, and I was like, oh wow, this, and for some reason my brain was like, this is a more recent thing, but it's not. It's like a couple years old. Next up, Garden Galaxy. So Garden Galaxy summer update is out now. There are beach and swamp sets, plus some different bug fixes. There's some other really cute little things in these summer updates. Like I think there are tortoises now. The update is free if you have the game, so it's just kind of adding more features and more levels that you can play.
Garden Galaxy is on my list of games that I really, really want to play because it visually looks so cool. I just love the art style of this game. It's really hard to describe because it's for me, this is the idea of what I love aesthetically of simple but beautiful and detailed. It's when the detail is in all of the right places, and it just, I don't know, something about this is so visually appealing, and I really love it and really want to play it. But I think it's only available on Steam, right?
I believe so, yeah. Did you when you played Animal Crossing New Horizons, did you like terraforming your island?
I terraformed my entire island. It is insane.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about what I wanted to do when I terraformed my island, and I built it all up to level 3, and then I carved out pathways through and built this whole, it's kind of like a maze almost sort of structure, and getting around can be a bit of a, but there's you can be running around on the top level, and there's very specific points where you can jump across the pathway, to other little islands, and so you can access pretty much every area of the island without a ladder, right? So that was the goal, is I wanted you to be able to get around the island without a ladder. But it was a terraforming, multi-month project. So yeah, I love terraforming stuff, particularly in that style where you've got that confined space and you've got those limitations. That's why Minecraft doesn't really resonate for me, because it's too freeform.
Yeah.
And so then I struggled to start. I love the sort of constricted nature that an Animal Crossing terraforming.
Then I think you're going to love Garden Galaxy. That's what it reminded me of. It reminded me of a little, almost a mini island from Animal Crossing plus Happy Home Designer because you can like design it however you want. So that's what it reminded me of. Also, hilariously, do you remember what I named my Animal Crossing island?
Oh, I don't.
I named it you, like it's your name.
Oh my god.
I remember we talked about it during, like, for whatever reason. It was like in the Slack, the Pokemon Slack, we were talking, like when the game came out, and I was like, oh man, I don't know what to name my island. And you made us some snarky comment, and I was like, cool, I'm just going to name it after you. And so it's literally your name. Every time I open that game, I chuckled.
That does sound like a very me thing to do.
Yeah.
I probably suggested naming it after me. That sounds like something I would do.
And I did it. So.
Amazing. Yeah. I love that.
It's funny. It's just really funny. Okay, next update is for Roots of Pacha. So Roots of Pacha, now it's back on the Steam store. It was off the Steam store for a bit, but it's back, and it now has a quality of life update. So this quality of life update includes a new outfit, so you can get like a little cat hat. They call it the Smile-It-On outfit. So it's like instead of having like a little wolf hat, you have a little cat hat. You can now romance Jag, who I'm pretty sure is the fire guy. Did you play Roots of Pacha?
No, so I'm in the category of people that don't really PC game, and so I need to wait for all of these things to come out on consoles, and it feels like we're in the year of everyone saying their game is coming to console, but not being clear on when.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm a very frustrated gamer in 2023 when it comes to a lot of these things.
No. Okay. So yeah, you can now romance Jag, which is nice because there are a decent amount of characters that I wanted to romance that I'm not available. This is not one of them, but hopefully this is like gives me hope that maybe the ones that I wanted to romance will be available eventually. There's over 50 new decoration items for your hut. Juke is one of the, or maybe it's Juck, one of the people in your clan. He's like kind of the stylish one, and he can now change your style. So after you pick what you want to wear, you can go to him and change your appearance, or you can get the obsidian mirror. I'm assuming you build the obsidian mirror or craft it, and then you can also move your buildings by talking to Kroll. So these are just like quality of life things to improve the game and the play of the game. Seems really nice. These are some big things that I was not expecting. Like there are also some bug fixes and some small things, but these are some things that I wasn't really expecting. So I'm pretty
nice.
This game is out now. The quality of life update is out now, and Roots of Pacha is one of the many games that we're going to talk about in our news spiel here. That is currently 20% off on the Steam summer sale. So until July 13th. So this is if you've been thinking about Roots of Pacha on Steam. Sorry, Jonnie. You can get it for 20% off. Are you going to play this next one?
I mean, this is in the same category of still not so Above Snakes is got a summer update that's out now. It's got a new game mode called Exploration, which is it sounds like a more advanced game mode. So there's the adventure game mode and exploration mode. And I can't actually read the text on this image about what.
You can full screen it. Yeah. So adventure mode says experience the stories of Above Snakes as intended. New biomes unlock with linear story progression. So basically, like you get access to more stuff in the game just by progressing the story. And this is what the developer recommends you do first because it includes a tutorial. Exploration mode is for seasoned explorers. So you actually choose the order of the stories that you want to do and which biomes you want to unlock in the order that you want to unlock them. This one is going to be difficult if you've not ever played the game before. It doesn't have tutorial. Some of the dialogues can be out of order. So it just kind of allows you to do whatever you want, however you want to do it. But yeah, it's a little stressful if you have not played it.
And this one is also 20% off on Steam, which is cool. And also more bug fixes, because every game needs bug fixes all the time now, because it's 2023 and that's how we do things.
Speaking of games that are 20% off until July 13th, another one. Everdream Valley. So this is the game where you look where it looks like you're just a child just doing what like doing whatever. I don't know. The main character for this looks really young, and I'm like, why is this small child in charge of everything and like farming everything? Is this also one of those games you can't play?
I believe I can't, but this is also one that's like not on my list of things that I'm
Okay.
particularly interested in playing. I think for actually no. So apparently it is out on Nintendo Switch.
Still not interested in playing it.
Well, it's so like there's been such a lack of games that maybe I will try this one because it's actually available on a console. So we will see.
So the Summer Fun DLC pack is available now, and this pack is free if you already own the game. On top of the pack, so the pack includes a wooden picnic bench, a wooden picnic chair, a wooden picnic table, a picnic umbrella, and a picnic umbrella with a table set. So it just kind of like gives you some fun little summer things. You can also now change all of the furniture to dark or light wood, depending on what you prefer.
Okay, I've been watching a trailer for this game in the background, and I think I do want to play it. I don't even think I knew about this game at all, and the visual style of it looks amazing. I'm into this. I'm probably gonna go play this.
Cool. Yeah. No, I don't know why it lost me because it's like a 7-year-old just getting to do whatever he wants, and he's choosing to farm. It's just kind of weird. I want a game where
it's kind of weird.
I'm a crotchety old bag. I've done the 9-to-5 job all my life, and I've just always wanted to own a farm, and then I get to own a farm upon retirement. Where's that game, you know?
I think we're talking about it later this episode. I hate to tell you, but that's what Farming Simulator is.
Oh, that's true, I guess. I don't know. Farming Simulator. I don't know about that. We'll see. We'll talk about that later. Okay. Well, maybe you can play this. Bear and Breakfast is on Switch. Have you played Bear and Breakfast?
I have not got round to Bear and Breakfast, which is maybe another one that I should put on my list, particularly now that it's getting a physical release, which I think it's exciting. I also find it weird, right? Because there's sort of been this recent trend of games getting physical releases, well after their sort of digital release. And I guess I just wonder about, like, why? And is Bear and Breakfast one of those games that has been big enough to really do it? But it just seems very odd to me that it comes out in a physical release, sort of, following. And maybe it's one of those games that's got such a big enough following that plenty of people, want to own a physical copy, who've already purchased it, and so get enough from that. Plus, some people just buying it because they will see it in real life. But I'm fascinated by this trend of like a physical release coming, significantly after the main games come out.
I mean, or it could be because sometimes download, especially for Switch, you have a limited amount of space on your Switch to download games. And so having physical games allows you to not have to download the whole game. Like, I'm happy my Xbox One is so thick. Like, I have a big hard drive because freaking Farming Simulator was 25 gigs. For me to play. And so I understand the need for physical editions. So good on you, Bear and Breakfast. They have 2 physical editions. There's the retail edition, which is going to come out on September 25th. And that edition has postcards and like 6 cute little postcards that I think that you can actually send to people, which is really cute. I would never send them. I would keep them. And a digital code for the soundtrack. And then the other exclusive edition has is called the I Am 8-Bit Exclusive Edition, and it has a graphic that was drawn by a specific human. I don't remember who the human is. I'm sorry, I didn't write that down. And this is coming out Q4 2023. It also has a Hank keychain. They call it like a motel style keychain. So like if you get like a key to a room at a motel, it's like the type of keychain that you'd expect that would have your like room number on it. Also has the digital soundtrack code. Have you seen this Hank plush?
this Hank plush is maybe the greatest piece of merchandise that has ever been produced for anything.
Isn't
It's
it
so good.
so cute? Look at his little hat.
His little hat, and like he's just like the right level of chonk. Like everything about this plush is just perfect.
Yep. So that was another thing that they just released or just announced, and it's being made by Makeship. So I'm pretty sure how Makeship works is you order it. There's like it's up for a certain amount of time. You order it, and then once all of the orders and the time shuts down, then they make however many were pre-ordered. And I think right now it's up to 250 or 400 or something like that. Crazy.
Yeah, and it's a really good way of doing these sorts of things because it's just super sustainable, right? So it means they come usually a little bit slower, but it means they make the right amount and don't overpurchase or underpurchase on material. So it's a really good way for these sorts of distributions to happen.
Mm-hmm. It is limited, so there are only 20 days. As of recording, we're recording this on June 30th. There's only 20 days left. So if you're interested in the Hank plush, get it while you can. And it's $30. They also released or are releasing a vinyl soundtrack. There's going to be a controller update.
I want to talk about this vinyl soundtrack, even though I haven't played the game, because the cover art for this is so cool.
Okay.
I'm a vinyl person, right? I love it, and I'm probably gonna buy this vinyl, and then I'm gonna buy the vinyl, and then I will play the game and get into it. But it's just the art is beautiful on it. The jacket for it's really good.
Has night and day.
Yeah, and then just having there is something really nice about having sort of some of these really cool video game soundtracks on vinyl. Like I love putting them on as background music when I'm doing something else or playing a game where it doesn't have great music or doesn't have great sound, and I want to listen to something. So I love seeing these sorts of releases. I'm really into it, and so I'm probably gonna buy this and the Hank plush before I actually purchase Beer and Breakfast.
That is amazing. Yeah, I actually just looked at the art for this. I'm not a vinyl person. I like money. And I would not have money if I did vinyl. I know myself too well.
That is entirely fair. Vinyl is not a cheap hobby.
It's not a cheap hobby. But I just looked at the art for this, and the day side looks like it's got the little shark dude, which is super cute. And then the night side has, oh gosh, where's the picture? It has someone brushing their teeth. Oh, and the shark dude's still outside, but he's got a light on him. But it has someone brushing their teeth. It's so cute. So there's the soundtrack, and then there's going to be an update for controller support. And then they also announced that there's going to be a big content update coming, which is going to be available to anyone who's already purchased it. It's going to have new areas, new hotel options, a new, quote, management-focused game mode. I don't know what that means. They're also going to be releasing on a new platform. I don't know which platform it could be. They're already on Steam and Switch, so I don't know what the next big platform to choose would be.
Well, to me, it sounds like maybe there's some sort of... when you hear sort of new mystery platform, I think about have they been purchased? Or do they have are they building an exclusive arrangement with either Xbox or Sony to come onto one of those consoles in a more sort of exclusive
What about
fashion?
Oculus Rift? I don't know.
Let's talk about things that people actually own and actually use.
I don't know. I would...
VR is dead.
I would be a VR bear.
Okay, that does sound pretty great.
Mm-hmm. You can pre-order or order all of this stuff, or look at all these cute things like the bear plush and the vinyl at bear.game/news. Their website is literally bear.game, and I love that because they called it the Bear Game.
It's just so good. Everything about the way this... I feel like, I listened to the Beer and Breakfast episodes and I was like, I really want to play that game, but I don't know that it engaged too much with the actual content around Beer and Breakfast, and now just seeing it all this week, I'm like, I just need to play this game. This sounds amazing. I feel like I'm going through what I went through with Spiritfarer, right? Where I listened to the Spiritfarer episodes and I was like, oh my god, this game does sound cool. I should get into it. And then I finally got around to playing it, and I was like, what have I been doing? This game is so amazing.
Oh, Spiritfarer, my heart. Okay. But we're not talking about Spiritfarer next. We're talking about One
Lonely Outpost.
Outpost, which is out now. I'm going to say it right now. We're going to start it at the top. It is now out. I guess it's the early access that's out. But it's out. The early access is out now. It's also on the Steam sale, so it's also 20% off. They announced their roadmap to 1.0. So they said that they're going to have major updates coming bi-monthly. Do we want to take bets on whether bi-monthly means twice a month or every other month?
I'm putting my money on once every other month, like just to be pushing out when you look at the amount of content that they're wanting to push out in some of these patches and getting to 1.0, like doing that effectively every fortnight. If they could do that, that would give me some major concerns about the quality of the updates that they're pushing out, right? So, I think when they say bi-monthly, they mean once every 2 months.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good. I agree, because I think like every 2 weeks would be a little ambitious. So there's different patches. So patch 1 and 2 are out now and available. They're just bug fixes and small quality of life improvements that they've already heard from some folks. Patch 3 is going to be coming soon, and that includes controller support. And then I just pulled this from the blog post. Quote, eventually the final game will, of course, have livestock, more NPCs, more crafting recipes, 2 more story acts, additional areas, deeper NPC relationships and dating systems, seasons, more customization, and lots more. Starstruck Vagabond. So the Steam page is now available for Starstruck Vagabond. This is the guy who does the zero punctuation videos. I don't know if you've ever watched those videos. They're like game review videos. I've loved his videos. I've watched them for a long time.
Yeah, I love Yahtzee, right?
Yahtzee. Yep.
Yeah.
So he has one thing that he says, this is the Steam blurb, is, quote, a space captain accidentally freezes themselves for 2,000 years, finding themselves in an unfamiliar galaxy. Fortunately, there's always someone who needs cargo delivered, unquote. Futurama? Feels like Futurama.
It does.
And then the other part of it that I pulled, that's also from the Steam store, Steam page says, quote, Starstruck Vagabond is a story-driven, chill-out, work-life simulator in the vein of Stardew Valley, albeit with spaceship maintenance and cargo delivering instead of farming. Odd job your way around space, keeping your ship from falling apart, forge relationships with your crew, and perhaps you'll find a new purpose in life, end quote. What are you thinking?
Yeah, what I like about the framing of this, right, is it's taking what we like about cottagecore games, and it's not just like, hey, here's crop farming and animal raising and relationships and mining in space. Or, like, because my current frustration with the way the cottagecore genre is doing, it's like there's this core set of mechanics, fishing, all of these sorts of things that just appear in every game. And the appeal to me about these games is not the mechanics, it's the feeling that you get when playing it. And the pitch for this game, at least, understands the feeling, and it's mechanically different, right? The idea of a spaceship where, yeah, it's a cozy style game, you're delivering packages, there's no huge amount of urgency, but you still need to keep the ship running, maybe make some upgrades, whatever that looks like. It's a compelling narrative, and that's what I'm looking for, right? Because that's the thing that will sort of push the cottagecore style genre forward, rather than just, hey, it's Stardew Valley, but X is different. Because that's what the past year has been, right? It's like prehistoric space with dragons.
Yeah.
Like, that's all the games are. There's that inn one that I was really excited about, and then it just showed all of the Stardew Valley mechanics, and it's just like, but you're running an inn, and it's like, well, but why do I want to mine then? So
yeah. I'm running an inn. Okay, then why am I fishing?
Exactly. Like, yeah. So I'm really excited for the potential of what Starstruck Vagabond could mean, not just as a game, but how it could potentially influence sort of the genre going forward.
I really like it. I don't think I'm not a big space human. I'm not super into that, and so I don't think I'll play it, but I do like what it's doing, and big props to Yahtzee. He's just a very funny guy, and he knows what he's talking about. He's been reviewing games for many years now, so he knows what's good and what's not. Okay, last bit of news here is 2 Pixelia. I don't like this name. If it was just Pixelia, but the 2 Pixelia is weird to me. What do you think?
I mean, cottagecore games just have bad names.
Okay.
We like, so many of our games have terrible names, and this is just another in the terrible name pile, so,
Yeah.
Do I hate it? Yes. But I hate most of most of the games we talk about, I also hate most of their names, so it's fine.
I don't know. Farming Simulator, though, that's like, exactly what you're getting.
That's true.
That's a good one. Okay, 2 Pixelia. They now have a Kickstarter that's coming soon and a Steam page that is live. And here off the Steam page is a blurb. Quote, "Your story begins as you get off the bus that brought you to Pixelia. From there on, only your imagination can decide how things will go." Okay. Create your Pixelian story by your own choices. Customize your character's appearance, buy or rent a property, and work your way up to the top. There is no limit to what you can become. You can choose to be a musician, politician, baker, butcher, janitor, model, basketball player, hacker, or even president. I'm going to pause here. Do you, no limit to what I can become. There's no entomologist on this list. I want to be an entomologist. Where's that?
Yeah.
Where's that? Okay. Compose your own
There will be limits, but I just really want to. So you want to be an entomologist in real life and in a game. So
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's a real dedication to the craft.
Is it? I mean, that's when you really are doing what you love, right? Because most people want to play games to escape what they do every day, but I want a game where I'm an entomologist. I want to spend 8 to 10 hours a day pinning insects and doing studies and entering data and starting analyses, and then I want to be like, oh, I need a break, and log on to my game where I do it all. No. Okay. Quote, compose your own songs, cook your favorite meal, fight your rivals, and drive any type of vehicle you desire. Man, they're really reaching here. Meanwhile, take care of your needs and health to avoid getting sick. Play the game your way and live the life of your dreams. End quote.
Is this just The Sims?
That's what it seems like to me. It was like it's The Sims, but 2D and side scroller is what it seems like to me.
Yeah, which I don't know.
I would just play The Sims personally.
Right? Hearing that description, all I was thinking is, man, maybe I should go back and play The Sims.
We need to. I need someone to jump on a Sims episode with me. So if you have Sims 4, we need to talk about it.
Okay, well, let's chat about that offline.
Yeah. So this is developed by Pixie Duo, and it's published by Creativo. So this will be the third game, or this is yet another game that Creativo has published that we've talked about. Above Stakes was also published by Creativo, and Roots of Pacha was originally published by Creativo, but now they are self-published. So Creativo getting around, knows their genre for sure. Okay, so now to our main topic, Farming Simulator. First of all, Jonnie, I have to thank you. I've been wanting to do Farming Simulator. And no one would do it with me.
I felt like it was this huge hole in the podcast, right? We can't have, it's so driven by farming games, and Farming Simulator is a farming game. It is the farming game.
The farming game. Holy heck.
So we had to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to be sort of talking about this game, because I don't know what your expectations were going into Farming Simulator. But I feel like everything is more than I thought it was going to be. That's probably my key takeaways. I was expecting it to just be you kind of just grow some crops and do some stuff, and you just sort of drive around a little bit. But even the world, right? The world, so they've got, 3 different maps or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And they're huge maps. You drive around, you actually have to drive around a lot. So I don't know, that was sort of my initial take going in, is I was expecting everything to be smaller, more contained, and it's just so big. Everything about this game is so huge.
Yeah, no, that was like literally the first thing when I sat down to like say like make notes of like, oh, what should we talk about with this game? The first thing that I was like, this game's huge. Like we need to talk about how big this game is. Not only physically huge, but the amount of detail that you go into for everything is also huge. And it's like I like appreciate that about this game. Like they were like, okay, we're going to do one thing and we're going to do it really well. And they did.
Yep.
Holy heck. And because this game is so huge, they have a series of videos and this like online tutorial guide called Farming Simulator Academy, where you literally could probably sit and listen or like watch these videos or read these things for like probably 4 hours straight. And you basically learn how to play the game. So you learn how to set everything up. You learn the menus. You learn how to change different settings. And then you learn how to actually play the game, like the different aspects of the game. It's crazy. They also use real brands. Like,
yeah, this is
they're not fake. Like John Deere is in this game. Kubota is in this game. And
a few weeks ago, Al and I talked about them putting Michelin tires into the most recent farming simulator.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things. It's like it's really cool, right? Because it kind of reminds me of racing games, where the appeal for a lot of people in Gran Turismo or Forza Motorsport is they want to go and drive actual cars that they actually see, and this is that for Farming Simulator, where you drive the actual tractors that are there, and it's not like they've put like some John Deere tractors in the game. There is like
model
numbers. So many tractors.
Yeah.
I don't understand the difference between any of these tractors. To me, they're all the same, right? Yeah. Like, they're just a big thing with big wheels that pull stuff. But there are so many different tractors, and I don't know, it's like this whole...
There's legit differences, though. Like, some of them... So if there's, like, say there's 4 tractors, one of them might have higher RPMs, so they might be like a stronger tractor, but it might be lighter weight, so you can't do as heavy weight stuff. Or some of them might not have the right attachment on the front, so that you aren't able to do like a certain front loading attachment. You're gonna have to do a different thing. They are crazy, and you need a different type of tractor for so many things.
Yep.
Crazy. Did you watch the video at the beginning?
I did, but to be fair, I watched it months ago. So I started playing Farming Simulator months ago, so I watched it. But it's just, I'll let you talk about it.
It's crazy. So I started it up, and like I thought it was to me it felt like like an advertisement, like a commercial that you'd see for like some type of beer or something that's like Levi's or something that's like it's got like this nice like like country song in the background. You feel really jazzed about it, and it's this guy like getting up early in the morning, and he's getting on the tractor and doing his job, and then it like juxtaposes that with a girl who gets up at 10 a.m. and she like messes something up, and then she messes something else up, and there's like this narration the whole time about how like it's not a game, it's a lifestyle. And then it ends up like this trailer is like 3 minutes long or something. This like beginning scene, every time you start up the game, this plays, and it ends up that the girl like or young woman probably, she like gets up earlier, and she just kind of like she's learning how to farm, and then you find out that she's the daughter of the guy who's like the rugged guy, because he says something like passing it on to the next generation, and then they like look at each other with like this like nod and like dip your hat style, and I was just like, and the graphics on it, those are like the types of graphics I expect from like top tier games nowadays.
Yeah, it was like this full cinematic like
yes like
thing.
There was this uncanny valley situation going on at first where I was like, is that a real person? No. Is it? No. And like I just was like going back and forth. I was like, I can't tell if that's a real person or not. Yeah, so this game, I mean, and that trailer sets up the fact that this game goes hard.
Yep.
It goes hard.
And this game does go hard.
It does.
And like the whole messaging of like this is not a game, it's a way of life. It's a pretty accurate statement. Like this is
I mean, even the game is not a game, it's a way of life. Like there's a lot to it for sure.
Yep. Yep.
So before you play the game, you get to choose your difficulty. So there's 3 difficulties. One is like new farmer, and for that one, it starts you out with some machines, the machines, the basic machines that you need, and then you have like 3 farms that you start out with. There's the middle of the road person, which I can't remember, like the middle level difficulty. I don't think it starts you out with anything.
So you don't start out with anything on the. I tried a game on the mid difficulty and didn't last very long because it was hard. You don't start out with stuff, but you have a decent amount of money. So probably if you know what you're doing and you've got a specific like, hey, I want to do this sort of playthrough, it would be a good place to start. Okay,
cool. And then there's the hard mode farmer one, which I'm pretty sure said something like you just start out with a small amount of money. Like you don't.
Yeah, so it's like the middle one, and you have way less money.
Yeah.
So I think on the medium difficulty you have like 1.5 mil to start, and on the hard difficulty you have 500,000. Wow. But there's things like you don't have you don't have any buildings or anything as well, so that money doesn't get you far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the new farmer one, you start out with 100,000, but you already have everything.
But you have everything, yeah.
And then there's also the 3 maps. So there's Elm Creek, which is what you'd expect. Like when you think of like a small rural farming town thing, like that's what Elm Creek is. There's Hot Baileron. That's how I'm gonna say it. Probably Baileron. It's in southern France. And then there's Erlengrat, which is in the Swiss Alps. That place looked amazing, but it looked like it was going to be more difficult, so I didn't play that one. So I chose New Farmer and Elm Creek. What did you play it with?
So I tried, the first time I jumped in, I tried the medium difficulty thing, so I was like, let's try this and see how it is, and I tried that on Erlengrat, because I just liked the way it looked, and then once I realized, like, okay, I really have no idea what I'm doing, I went New Farmer on Elm Creek.
Okay, cool. Cool. So we ended up in the same place.
Yeah.
So the game, the like days system, like it's almost like real time. Like each minute in the game is, and there's like a 24-hour cycle, and like I'm trying to remember like how much time passes per.
So it's weird, right? Because like each month is a day is sort of the default. I think you can change. You can change that if you want. So you could adjust that, but I think the default is a month is a day, but the day takes a long time to play through.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it is ultimately. I don't know that I ever went like a full 24-hour cycle without just at some point going to my house and just sleeping to get to the next day, because like the night is really dark, right? And it's one of those things I actually don't think works particularly well, because it's this weird juxtaposition between it's real time, but it's also not real time. Yeah. And I think the game would be better if it was just operating on like a, 4 a.m. to 9 p.m. cycle. So you had a few hours of darkness, not like a full 12 hours of darkness, because it's a long time to be playing in darkness and you kind of just want to move to the next day so that it's light again.
Oh, I just turned my lights on my tractors.
Yeah, no, I was too lazy for that. You could turn the lights on, but like I want to see the rest of the game world around me. That's part of the appeal.
That's true.
And so after a few hours of doing it at night, it's like I would just rather move to the next day. So
I never slept, so I got through a full 24-hour cycle, and then moved on to the next month. Like it was like, oh, it's August now, it's September, and I was like, well, it was only one day. Like what? I would like that was my thing, is I would like it to go slower than that. I'd like maybe like 3 days in 1 month.
Hey, and I think I think I would like the same thing where I obviously cut off the nighttime, make the days shorter, like have the nighttime component of a day be shorter, and then sort of, force you to go back to bed and sleep, and so you wake up the next day and then you can sort of start again. I think that would be a better system for what they're trying to achieve.
Yeah. So yeah.
Although I think it's the only other thing on the sort of day-night cycle, I think it's a little bit different coming from sort of the cottagecore style of games where we're used to seasons being 30 days. Yeah. So we're used to kind of more rapid day-night cycles. So I wonder if there's just a bit of like it's very different to what we're used to.
Yeah.
It's just a very different sort of experience in that regard.
Yeah. So, I mean, all of that to say, like, the time frame of the game, you can modulate it. Like, you can change it however you want. And a lot of things like what is available during what month or whatever is dependent on the month. So you can make it so that months take 20 days in game and you're going to be playing and doing the same stuff for a long time until you can harvest anything.
Yep.
Because you can't harvest until September, and then it's September and then you can harvest your stuff, for example. You can design your character. I said there was an all right amount of options. Like,
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I think there were, 4 different skin tones. There were like 3 masculine and 3 feminine character types. And then a bunch of clothing. I just let it pick the basic clothing, so I didn't even really go through the clothing options.
No, and it's weird, right? Because you basically never see your character.
Right.
Like, because so much of this game you are driving stuff. You're not really running around the world. So you never really see your character. So it's like, yeah, it's cool that it's there, but it's like, you could almost just have like, hey, here's the different skin tone options, and then go. But
yeah. So that was nice. We already mentioned that the map is huge. And then I just wanted to say here, please fix the UI. If you start playing this game, if you get to the end of this podcast and you're like, wow, I really like this game. It's on Game Pass. We should probably mention that too. That Farming Simulator 22 is on Game Pass. And so if you have Game Pass, you can play this. Wow, I really like that. I kind of want to play it. Be prepared to have to sit pretty close to your monitor because the font size is really small and there's a lot of text and a lot of things that you need to see.
And that's the key, right? Is you need to see it. And this is probably the thing that put me off the game the most, is it was really hard to work out. Like, playing the game is hard already.
Yeah.
Because it's, it is a simulator.
Yeah.
And then not really knowing what to do because the text size was so small on the screen and the menus aren't particularly intuitive either.
Yeah.
It was a frustrating experience to try and do some of that and to play. So the UI just needs to overhaul.
Yeah.
And the thing that I kind of don't understand, right? So what they do with the UI is they kind of put like this weird menu in the top left screen that has all of these things of options that you can do. Mm-hmm. And it feels like they were trying to do some sort of weird overlay to not take you out of the simulation, but you have to spend so much time looking at it that it does. I feel like it would have been better if there was some maybe more like, pop-ups over the tractor, or, you press this button and it brings up some sort of like interactive thing. Like, it just felt like a really strange implementation that I didn't fully get why they had chosen to do it that way.
Yeah, basically, like, your options of what you want, what you're gonna do in any moment are either there in the top left, like it just tells you here, if you push A, this is what happens. If you push B, this is what happens. Or you can hit left bumper and a whole bunch of new stuff comes up. Or you can hit right bumper and more new stuff comes up. Or you can hit left and right bumper together and more options come up. And this makes sense because there's like a lot of stuff that you need to do with the machines, but like it's just really small. And like I ended up, at first I was like, wow, this is really annoying, but I ended up being like, okay, no, I get this. Like I actually kind of like this system. I just would love to be able to see it more because I can't see it right now.
Yeah. I don't know that I did love the system. I think there's got to be better solutions for what they're trying to do with
There's a lot of settings, though. Like, these machines are complicated, Jonnie. You can't just... It's not simple. Okay, Remus is screaming again. I'll be right back. Sorry, y'all. I let him in, and then I opened my front door to put the trash outside. Because he'll eat the trash. And... my management guys are out there and they're like, oh, how'd your floor turn out? Oh, we're just doing this for you real quick. I'm like, yeah, I'm in it. Okay, so there are 3 specializations in this game. There's agriculture, animal husbandry, and forestry.
I just really like the term animal husbandry. And like, I've grown up around farms, so I hear it all the time, but it still makes me laugh. But should we start with talking about agriculture?
Yeah. I mean, every time I hear animal husbandry, I'm like, always like, what? Because in the Western United States, we called it ranching. So like agriculture, like would be farming. It's when you're actually doing farming. But if you have a ranch, you have animals. And that's that's ranching. That's what we called it. I don't know what the difference
it's all just farming here. It's all just farming here.
I'm actually going to Google it. Ranching versus animal husbandry. Oh, this has animal husbandry versus livestock farming. Animal husbandry versus farming. I want to know what ranching. The activity or business of breeding cattle on a ranch. Is it called ranching? Okay, so I guess it's just cows. But we had horses too. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, when I hear ranching, I think cows and horses.
Okay.
Like, I wouldn't put, like, sheep or chickens or anything. Like, that doesn't sound like ranching to me.
Would have called it a sheep ranch, I guess. I don't know. Agriculture.
Agriculture, all right.
Which is funny to me that it's called agriculture because, so, like, I go to a university and I'm in the Department of Agriculture, and the forestry department is in the College of Ag. Like, forestry is a form of agriculture.
So, well, let's talk about crops. Growing crops. Which is, like, so this is the main specialization in the game, right? If you were playing Farming Simulator, growing crops is, like, the thing. Like, those other specializations are there, but I don't really feel like, my impression from playing Farming Simulator is, like, it's not really the sort of game where you play where you're like, I'm going to go do, like, Animal Farm. Like, it's not really set up to... you could do it, but it doesn't really feel like the animal or forestry specializations go as deep or as hard as the growing crops. Like, if you're not into the growing crops, like, this is not the game for you. I don't think. That was sort of my key takeaway, because this is the one where everything is.
I don't know. I actually really want to just do the animal husbandry or the forestry. Like, I kind of want to start, like, saves that are just that. Because I think that would be really fun. But, yeah, I think this is, like you're saying, I do think this is the big bad. Like, there's so much to these specific, this specific thing, like the farming and the agriculture part of it is just, like, the biggest thing.
Yeah, and I think my favourite thing about this, and this is where it differs from what we think of in cottagecore games as farming, is like crop cycles, I guess. So you plant certain crops at certain times of the year, and there's a great little calendar that tells you when those crops can be planted, and then you harvest them months later, right? So they go through an actual cycle rather than you plant and harvest the crops in the same season, which is sort of the traditional from cottagecore games. And that's because this is how crops work in the real world. But I actually think it's just a really cool way to do things, because it kind of puts this different framing on how you experience the game, where you do something and you set it up, and then you have to come back later and do it. So there's sort of a nice cycle to this game where you can kind of have different focuses at different times, and then you come back to things, which I don't find I often do in cottagecore games. It's like, I'm now really focused on X, right? Which might be at the start of a lot of cottagecore games, like, I'm going to get all my crops growing, and then I'm going to get the sprinklers installed, and that will become more automated, and then I'll switch to doing animals, and I'll focus on animals until they all really love me and are producing, and then I'll move to the next thing, rather than going like, I'm going to get my crop set up, and then I'm going to go work on this other thing, and then I'll come back to my crops. Like, I really like the way that sort of emerges as a different way of thinking about how you spend your time in the game.
Yeah, and one thing that I really liked about the seasonality of crops in this game that I don't really see in other games is they just give you the like calendar of it right off the bat. They're like, here's what grows when, and here's what is harvested when. So you can plan. You can plan more. So, because like right now I only have 3 fields, and they're canola. And when I harvest the canola in 2 months, when it's ready, I know exactly what I can plant in that season. And so I know exactly what to plant. And during that time, I can get prepared to, like fertilize my field and do all these different things to the field that I have to do, because you have to prep the field. Like, the field's not just like ready.
Yeah. So let's talk about all of the stuff that you need to do, because it's not just put seed in ground. It's not. There's
And
a lot. So
I put in the info from the Farming Simulator Academy here that talks about the machines that you start out with when you start a new farmer game, because I think that like is a good, like, you need this for this and this for this. Like, here's all the different steps of farming. If you want to go through those, that'd be cool.
yeah, cool. So obviously the thing you need is a tractor. You need a tractor to pull all of the different machinery. And then the first thing you'll need is a cultivator. So a cultivator is the thing that kind of runs through the ground and turns up the soil and gets it loose and ready for the seeds to be planted. So then you need your seeding machine to sow the crops, and you have to have the seeds to put into it. There are a few so on the fields, there can be things that sort of limit your harvest. So there's weeds and stones. I think those are the only two. And there is different
that, and then the liming and the fertilizing.
Yeah. So that's a good point. So there's sort of the negative things, like, so you've got stones and weeds, which will reduce your crop yield because they get in the way of your plants growing. And then you've got the things that you can do to the soil, fertilizing and liming, that will sort of like increase your production, or your harvest, or the quality of what you produce. And
I think I will say, so like everything you've mentioned so far, the cultivator, the seeding machine, the weeder, and the fertilizer spread, these are things that you attach to your tractor, right?
Yes.
So like they either go on the front or the back. And also, if anything is too heavy, if it's like really heavy, you have to put a weight on the front of your tractor
to balance it out.
To balance it out. And so like you have to drive your tractor up to the weight and attach it, and then back it up to the cultivator, for example, and attach that too.
And with each of these machines, there's like different versions, right? And so there's, ones that are bigger, which are obviously heavier, but they might be wider, so they might cover a wider area. Or that, like there's just so much variation, even within like these. It's not like there's one cultivator that you attach. There are so many different versions and variations and brands of these things that you can purchase and use, which is kind of just madness. And then when you drive them, right, like, so you can drive them up and down the fields, and so you have to raise and lower them. You've got to turn them on and off. You've got to unfold them. Like it's a whole process to even get these things set up. And the thing that took me the longest time to work out, because what I wanted to do, right, was can I just drive around the field and sort of get everything done, and kind of just like, I just wanted to start, turn the machine on, lower it down, just drive until I've done the whole field and go. That is absolutely the wrong way to do things. You will miss spots all over it, because like the towing mechanics are actual towing mechanics, right?
Yeah.
Like things turn well. It's not going to auto snap and pick up that bit that you missed. If you miss a bit, you missed a bit. And the thing you want to do is you want to drive in a straight line. You get to the end of the field, you raise the machine back up, you turn around, you line up perfectly for the next line down, and you drive all the way back down. It's like a very consistent, precise thing to be doing, and that is the best way to do things.
It's so frustrating when you miss a spot.
It's so annoying.
I've turned around and like seen wheat, like a very sliver of wheat, like line of wheat that I missed, and I'm just like, yeah, it's just so funny. And like I still can't figure out how to get the cultivator to work, because like I feel like I'm doing everything right. Like it's lowered, it says it's on, and then I drive and nothing is happening. And then I like have the AI worker, which we'll talk about in a second. I'll have the AI worker do it, and then stuff happens. And I'm like, how? Like, what are you doing? I can't figure it out. So yeah, all of those, the cultivator, seeding machine, weeder, fertilizer spreader, etc., are things that can be attached to a tractor. So it's actually beneficial to have multiple tractors with each of these things. But there is also the harvester. And the harvester, you also have to have an appropriate header on it. So the header is basically just another attachment that you put on the front, and that's what would actually like harvest the things.
And the harvester is a separate vehicle entirely.
Correct.
It's not an attachment to a tractor. It's its own vehicle. And one of the things I love is going into first person mode when you're driving.
Oh,
and
and feeling
'cause
like you're driving it?
well, you see the insides of the tractors, right? And in particular, the insides of the harvester are like they're almost like a video game console. Like they have a big joystick and like all of these things. The harvesters are pretty damn cool.
Okay, I'll have to check that out because I get a little bit of like vertigo if I play in first person, so I avoided that. I played in third person and then I zoomed out a decent amount because
I mean, it's also not a great game to play in first person because you will miss a ton of stuff because you can't see if things are lined up properly.
not gonna get straight lines.
Nope. And then when you're harvesting, you will need a trailer or something to load the grain into. And this is kind of where I want to sort of bring in the AI workers. So with any of the jobs, you can get it started, and then you can hire an AI worker, and they will finish doing that activity on the field for you. You do have to pay them a wage, so it's more fiscally responsible to do it yourself, but that comes with time. So I kind of messed around with the AI workers a little bit, and it seems like a cool system, particularly if you want to get multiple fields going at the same time. But the thing I like most about the AI workers is for the if you're harvesting a field, you can set an AI worker to be driving the combine that's doing the harvesting, and then you can line up your trailer and you can drive alongside the harvester, so it will automatically unload into your trailer, which is like one of those things that you see happen on actual farms that feels really cool, and it feels really cool to sort of be able to do that in Farming Simulator, where you could like drive up against it, line up against it really well and have it automatically sort of load into your truck. I don't know, there's a really satisfying feeling about having that happen.
I only just realized that yesterday that they did that because I was driving a trailer up. I had just like delivered a load of, I think it's oat, to the farmer's market. And I was coming back for more, and I drove like side by side with the harvester, and the harvester pipe like came out and started dispensing into the trailer, and I was like, "What?" Because I had been jumping into the harvester, disabling the AI worker, driving the harvester to the trailer, unloading everything, and then lining it back up and starting the AI worker again. Just not very efficient. So definitely going to be doing that from now on. Because some of these fields are huge, especially if you're doing, if it's not your field, like if you're doing a contract for someone, which we'll talk about, like some of these fields are really big. So you'll do like 2 lines and you'll be like, oh, I gotta be halfway done. And then you look and there's like so much field left. And it's just like, wow, you've completed 10%. And I'm like, what?
Yep.
That took me like 5 minutes. So yeah.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the contracts and I guess sort of the fields in general, because the way the game works is on the map there's like something ridiculous, like 90 fields, or maybe not that many, but there's a lot of fields on the new.
Definitely at least 80.
Yeah. So you start out with 3, I think, in the new farmer, the new farmer mode, and they're relatively small fields. And you can purchase the rest of the field, so they all have a price associated with them, and so I think you can just buy them at any time, and if they've got crops on them, then you take over those crops. But the other thing that people who, the other farmers in the game that own those fields is they'll put out contracts for you to do tasks on the field, and that can be everything from harvesting the crops to fertilizing the field to whatever it is, which I think is a really good way to get started to work out maybe what you want to like or what you want to grow. Like, so at the start of the game, when, I think pretty much everyone just plants the canola because that's the thing that's in season that you can plant. And then you've got a few months of, you don't have anything specific to do on your farm. So you can go and do contracts and learn about, a range of different activities and sort of do it. The thing that surprises me about contracts is how little they seem to pay. Like, they seem like a lot of work for not a huge amount of money.
I'm doing one that gives me like 14 grand right now. It's a lot.
This is the thing, right? This is where I feel like it gets like, the game is like very simulator, and it's like 14 grand is like, yeah, that's a decent amount of money in the real world, but in farming world, 14 grand is not a lot of money because that barely buys, like, that doesn't buy you that maybe buys you like a low level attachment. It's not.
So spend like 30 minutes in game so that you can buy a weight for your tractor.
Yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, and the thing with contracts is there's a percentage, like Cody mentioned, and you can like technically fail contracts. So if you do things inefficiently, or you sort of miss regions or whatever it is, like you can actually like. But I think particularly the harvesting contracts are possible to fail. So I think with some of the harvesters, if you use low quality harvesters, I think it reduces your yield, and you might not actually get enough to complete the contract. I'm not talking from personal experience. I definitely didn't fail any contract.
Definitely haven't done that.
No, because so one of the first contracts I tried, which was totally the wrong thing to do, was a grass cutting one, where you turn the grass into hay. And so you have to drive over a field multiple times, where you first of all have to, I think it's cut the grass, then you have to dry it, then you have to sweep it up into, like, there's a machine that sort of like moves it into piles, and then you drive over it with the baler and turn it into bales.
Then you gotta go pick up all the bales.
And then you got to go pick up all of the bales. So it's like it's a really intense contract. And it was a really poor choice for my first one because it was very complicated. And I didn't, as I spent all of my time doing this, and at the end I didn't have enough bales because I had done it so inefficiently that I couldn't find enough stuff to sort of sweep together to get that last bale that I needed. So I couldn't even complete the contract. Oh. And that was when I quit my medium farming game. I was like, I'm going to go play a new farming game because clearly I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I saw that because, like, there's the baling, there's mowing, there's harvesting, there's fertilizing. One of them was literally just cultivating a field. So I like it, like you're saying, because you can go while your fields are doing whatever your fields are doing, but you can like go and learn how to do these other things, and you can rent the machines as well. So if you don't have the machines, it'll take like a small, like one of my things, I think I was getting like $500 for cultivating a field. And it was like, if you want to just rent the machine, you can. And I was like, cool. I don't know my machines yet. So I don't know if I have what I need to have. It does show you what you need, but I'm like, I know I have stuff that looks like that, but I don't know if it is that. So I'm just going to rent these things. And then you just go pick them up and go take them. And then when you complete the contract and submit it, those things get returned automatically, which was nice.
Yeah, so let's talk about what you do with the crops. So you can sell your harvest to a range of places. You know, there's markets, and then there's a bunch of different production facilities like cereal factories, or like there's a surprising amount of them. I won't sort of run through them all.
Yeah.
And so you can kind of sell them, and they offer different prices. I think there is sort of like a background economy aspect to the game. I think that probably comes in more on the harder difficulties. I think in some of the easier difficulties, it's a little bit more like, yeah, some of these places will pay different prices, but the prices are usually pretty good, and it's not something I engaged with too much. Cody, I'm not sure if you really got into the economy side of things.
I took everything to the farmer's market.
Yeah. Yeah, I was kind of the same. But there are production trees in this game, so you can produce things with your goods. I think you have to own the production facilities in order to really engage with that side of things. Otherwise, you're just selling to the production facilities. But I know you can turn, like, so if you own the mill, you can turn your grain into flour, and then if you could sell the flour to the bakery, or if you own the bakery, you could turn the flour into bread. And then I think if you have it's like flour, strawberries, sugar, and something, maybe eggs. If you have all of those and you own the bakery, then you can produce cakes, which you can then sell. So it's kind of like, if you want the economy to be, more complicated and turn your goods into artisan goods from a more sort of cottagecore style game thing, you can do that. It doesn't feel like a huge thing in the game. It's probably more of like hey, you're in the late game, you want to really like ramp up and make a ton of money off your farm. This is one of those ways to do it, but it's not a huge influence on how the game plays out overall.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't do any of those.
I didn't have enough money to do any of that.
Yeah, they all cost a decent amount of money. You have to be a pretty good farmer to be able to get all of that. I think the last thing to mention about agriculture is that, well, I guess this isn't just agriculture, this is everything. The machines that you use break down over time. and they also need to be gassed up. So like they need fuel. And so I never really had to do this because I didn't play that much. But like in the bottom right of your UI, it has the mechanic level, the repair level. So you might have to like take your vehicle to go get repaired. There's also the fuel level, so you might have to take it to get gassed up.
It seems pretty generous. I wonder if it's slightly more realistic on the harder difficulties where that will empty faster, because I also never had to do it. But I also think the mechanic side of things is like trying to get people to, drive properly, or to not be like, don't run your machines over, standard grass like while they're down, or don't go off-road and try and drive on the roads and some of those sorts of things. I think it's just a slight nudge mechanic to try and get you to play this game as a simulation, not as like, some idiot video gamer that's just driving everywhere and anywhere, because that seems like fun.
Yeah. There is also, I don't know if you saw this in the menus, you can change your machines from manual and automatic transmission to manual transmission. So you would actually have to like shift gears as you're driving them. I don't even know how that would work. But
that sounds like a level of complication. Like if you really want that level of complication, maybe at that point you should just go be an actual farmer.
Yeah, I don't know how that would work. So yeah, do you have anything else to say about agriculture?
I kind of like there's a few crops in the game, but it's there's not as many as I maybe expected. And it could just be that they're all kind of like, it would just be different versions of the same thing. I can't remember exactly how many sorts of crops there are,
16.
but it's 16, right? Which I for some reason that was one of those areas I was like, I thought there would have been more. And it's, I don't know if it's a criticism, because it's like, I don't know if I needed more. I guess it was just surprising, right, that there wasn't more, given how deep everything else is in this game.
Yeah. I mean, even if they just added like one or two more, and they are adding more in this expansion that's coming out later this year. I mean, even just adding like one is going to change so many things in the production. The production lines, like they don't have to add that many to make things really complicated. So
yeah,
but yeah, I think I was surprised by that as well. But also they did so many things with like they're doing everything so detailed that I'm fine with it. Like I'm never gonna play everything in this game anyways, even if I made this a full-time job. So I get it. So I don't think either of us did the animal husbandry or the forestry, though I would like to, so I'm going to do this later. The animal husbandry, there are 5 different animals, plus bees. So there's chickens, sheep, cows, pigs, and horses, and then there's the bees as well. For each animal, you need a very specific house and very specific feed. So for example, I think the chickens, like you can just make a chicken pasture for like $1,000, or you can build a chicken coop for like $12,000. And I think like it probably increases their yield or something.
And also there's some automation that can come with the buildings. So some of the buildings, I think, automate things like supply of water and some of those sorts of things that you have to do manually for the fields.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, because you have to give them a water trough, and you have to have like a line of water out there, or go fill it with your tractor and your front loader.
Yeah.
You also can either feed them things that you've directly harvested from your field, or you can buy just chicken feed from a retailer on the game. Like it mentioned that chickens would eat, I think it was like sorghum, wheat, and barley. And so you could pull like some of that stuff and put it in a silo, and then sell some of it, and then retain some of it so that you can feed your animals.
Yeah.
But yeah, even for something as quote unquote simple as chickens, you still need the tractor, you still need the front loader, you still need a pallet jack, pallet fork. You need a barn, you need a pickup truck. Like you still need quite a bit, even if it's just like small animals that you think you could carry but with your hands.
Well,
So
and it's the thing, right? Because this game is about the actual simulation, and so it's not going and selling a carton of eggs. You are trying to sell a pallet full of eggs,
yeah.
which is why you need all of these things. Like this is doing this stuff on mass. I have to say, for me, the animal side of farming isn't super appealing because it kind of automates for me the parts that I find most interesting about animal farming, which is really, I guess, the reproductive, raising calves and sheep, and part of that is I've grown up around a lot of animal farms, so I've done a few seasons of lambing. So when the new lambs are born, and you sort of worm them and do all of the fun, gross things. Cut off their tails.
Yeah.
For reasons that I won't get into because it's not super. Well, you cut off the tail so the poo doesn't get stuck in the tail.
Yeah, I was gonna say they don't need it, and it's gross. Yep. It gets real gross real quick.
Yep.
If they have it.
So I've done seasons of that, which it's not so much the act of doing it, but there's the wrangling the sheep, getting them into the pen, separating out the lambs. There's that last lamb that's friggin' running around and just won't go down the chute. That everyone's desperately trying because you're tired So for me, it's missing the I guess it's the moving animals aspect of it. You kind of just set up the pen and then they live there, and it's even with cows, right? It's around dairy farming's huge in New Zealand, and farmers get up at 4 a.m. and walk the cows to the milking shed and go through the milking process, and that doesn't really seem to be a big aspect of the animal farming. In this game, it's more about have they got the food, water, all of the things that they need to be healthy animals, and the rest of it's kind of hand-waved.
You telling me I'm not going to get a phone call at 2 a.m. that one of my sheep stuck its head through a fence and needs its head to just be pushed back through the fence?
Okay. I don't think so.
Then 2 minutes later go do it again.
Exactly.
We had that growing up in Oregon. We would walk by some of the sheep fences or whatever, and you just have to push because it would just. So you'd have to get a very specific fence that has a small enough mesh size that they can't do that because they'll just get their little head stuck and then they can't figure it out. Yeah, I think there was a lot to the animal husbandry that I wished as well. I mean, you can also breed them, but I think it's as simple as put a male in with a bunch of females. It's not, there's not doesn't seem to be very detailed in that. But I mean, it's still there, and I'm still really interested to give it a try. Because I'm not going to do it in real life. Oh, there is also beekeeping. It's all right.
you just put down you just literally put down the
hives. Yeah.
The hives, and that happens. One slight cool thing is bees can improve the quality of the crops that they're near, depending on the crop. Which is a cool little hey, bees are good for the world around them sort of thing that's there. But other than that, you don't do anything. Well,
and I was okay. And then I looked at some of the hives that you can buy, and I was oh, that's so cool. But then I saw the names of the hives you can buy. So one of the names is one Langstroth hive. And I was wow, yes, it is called a Langstroth hive. That's so cool. And then it says 4 Langstroth hives. And then if you look at it, it's literally one Langstroth hive with 4 supers. And I'm oh, that's still only one hive. Still only one hive. There's just more boxes that you've added to it for honey. You've added honey, basically. Spaces for them to make honey. But it's still only one hive. And I was just you lost me. Also, then there's a 30, put 30 hives together. And I'm that... You can't do that. You have to do them opposite directions. You have to space them out. That's just a breeding ground for mites. So, but again, it's not beekeeping simulator. It's something else. So.
I was going to say, Codey's just turned this from farming simulator into, this is not a simulator anymore. This is, look at this stupid video game, not following its real world rules for...
This video game are doing stuff wrong. Okay, last but certainly not least, forestry. It is what it sounds like. There are 12 types of trees. Some of them are deciduous, some are coniferous, and some take longer to grow or don't need as long to grow. They only take a couple months versus 24 months or something. And then you use different machines to harvest them and you get different products. So some of them you get wood chips, some of them you get the actual timber. You can also mulch to get rid of stumps, which I thought was really cool. Because that's something like once you cut the stuff, like the stump is still going to be there and it usually has to take some time for it to die before you can like pull it out. But they have a mulcher for it, which is what you do. You put it on top of it and it like mulches it down. And it had like we are scratching the surface with this, like too. Like this, it's very detailed.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the forestry stuff seems cool. It's a little bit weird because it's definitely sort of the third thing on the list because it's just not what the game pushes you towards at all from the start. Like, I could see someone playing this game for a long time without even realizing that this is really a thing to do.
Yeah.
Because it's just not like, when you start playing the game, you're like, oh yeah, it's like a world that has trees in it. But all of it's sort of directed around the fields and what you do on the fields.
Yeah.
And not so much like it wasn't even something I was really thinking about until I saw it in a video and I was like, oh, cool. That's like a cool thing that you can do.
It would be really cool if you could get a contract for these things. Like, to my knowledge, the contracts were only for the agriculture side of things.
Yeah, I don't believe I saw any for...
Yeah, if I could get a contract that's like, come worm my sheep, that's not going to be a thing. Come cut down this forest for me. That would be interesting. I would like to do that because then you don't have to make that your bread and butter, but like you can still experience it.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing about the contracts, right? The contracts for me were the stuff that helped me learn about what I wanted to do in the game, but it was all in that sort of crop space. So I think that would be a good little addition.
Yeah. Jonnie, what would you rate this game? Would you recommend this game?
So I thought about it, and where I think I have landed on Farming Simulator is what it is trying to do, it does very well. Do I want to do that thing? Not really. Because this game is a simulator, right? It is what it says on the box. It's a simulator. It values or rewards people that want to play this game like a simulator where you do things, you get rewarded for doing things properly. So if you want to play a game and kind of just drive some vehicles and, have a good time, like, you'll get a little bit out of that, but it kind of tails off pretty quickly because ultimately, in order to progress in this game, you kind of need to go out and be a farmer and do the farming things, and it does that really well. So I think if you are into that idea and you've listened to what we've said and you're like, that sounds really good, then this game is probably for you. But it's not a game... Like, it's a good game, it's just not a game for me, so it's hard for me to give it a score, because it's like, well, my personal score would not be particularly high, but that's not because it's a bad game. It's not objectively bad like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet or something like that you just look at and you're like, this is just an objectively terrible game. Like, that's a 2 out of 10 game. Like, this is a good game for people who are into this sort of game. It's just not me.
Yeah. I think I'd agree. Like, I do think, like, there are days when I'm like, man, I would like to play a game and I just want to do the same thing, like something simple that I don't have to think about. This is perfect for that. Like I could just go do a contract and say, hey, give me exactly what I need for the contract. And then I can go pick up those materials at the place and just go do it and go like farm someone's field. I think that's really fun. But the concept of trying to build an economy or like build an empire in this game is too far beyond my I'm not that invested.
And it's a significant time investment, right?
Yeah.
Like, this isn't the sort of game where you can sit down and be like, oh, I'm just going to play like 20 minutes a day and then like a month or two I will, I think if you really want to succeed in this game, we're talking like 100-hour sort of style game, right? Because everything just takes time. And
by that 100 hours, maybe you'll be done with one of the campaigns, like one of the specializations, and be like, okay, let me try something else now.
Yeah.
It's a lot, but I mean, but as we're saying, it does it well. It does it really well. Is this something I would buy every year, like 2020, the 22 and 23 and 24? No, I'd probably just play the same one.
Yeah.
So yeah. Recommend, probably not going to play it anymore. Well, I'll probably try out the animal husbandry and forestry, but like just the little bit, like the couple of hours that I played, I was like, I get it. I get what
Yeah.
they're doing.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way, where it's like, and there's other little things, I think, if you really get into it, like there's collectibles around in the world that you can find that give you money. But again, it's like, it's not really something that you kind of think about, and the only reason I know that that's the thing that you can do is because I was watching a YouTube video and someone was like talking about it and they, showed it. It's kind of,
I didn't know that.
there's some. Yeah, there's some little stuff in there,
Little Easter
some
eggs?
Easter eggy sort of
Okay,
stuff,
okay.
which is kind of cool. But it kind of feels like things more like to keep you kind of in for those 100 hours if you're really into it.
Yeah.
And it's just it's a big time investment, right? It's not the sort of game that I feel like, oh, I could sit down and play for 20 hours and be really satisfied where I got to. It's like you're either in for a few hours to see what it's like,
Yeah.
or you need to be in for the long haul.
Yeah. For sure.
The other thing I think is you really need to like driving, right? As much as this farming simulator, it's also a driving simulator because that is what you are doing 99% of the time. You are driving a thing.
Yep. And there is traffic. You can turn it off, but there is traffic. So don't just drive onto a road because a car might hit you. And the cars are dumb. They are so dumb.
So dumb.
I had one, I was in the right hand lane and they were in the left hand lane and they tried to just like yeet, like right in front of me to go onto the highway and I almost got hit. And I was like, you know what? This probably happens to people in tractors. Yeah. This probably legitimately happens to people, but that sucks. But like, I also don't like being capped out at 15 miles an hour on some of these tractors. I'm like, I'm trying to get to the farmer's market and it's all the way across the map. And I'm like, let me go faster. But then I drove the truck and the truck could get up to like 70 miles an hour. And I was like, this is too fast. This is way too fast. Like, I am zooming and I don't like it. So I had fun though. Like, I think that it was worth getting Game Pass to try it, to play this and have done the thing. And it is the type of game that a younger me would have dove into this game head first if I had the time. But I just don't have time anymore. It's not a thing that I have. Well, with that being said, the premium edition is coming out on November 14th of this year. So the premium edition includes the base game and the premium expansion. And that expansion has new crops, carrots, parsnips, and beets. It also has a new map called Sri Lanka, which is in Central Europe, and it has storks. I don't think that you do anything with the storks, but they're flying around. They exist on the landscape.
I assume that means that there will be babies in this game.
It just showed storks, like with their big nests all over the place. I don't know. There's also new factories and production chains that you can make. There's new machines. There's new brands. It said like 4 new brands. It also includes packs that already exist for Farming Simulator 22 that contain different brands like Kubota, and 3 other cool packs, one of which is the hay and pasture pack, and then it says 2 unannounced packs. So whatever those are, who knows? But the hay pack, I think, is a good one to have.
I mean, if there's anything that sums up Farming Simulator, it's the fact that there is a hay expansion pack, and that's enough, right? Like, they're like, yep, this is a shippable product. It's just about hay. Yeah. And I'm sure people that are really into Farming Simulator are excited for this hay expansion pack, but wow, that's just...
And here's an expansion that gives you Kubotas.
Yeah.
A brand that you can use that I love driving, like in the real, I love driving Kubotas because they are zippy little things and they get the job done. And you can like put small amounts of things on the back, or you can hitch a trailer to them. But they're these cute little ATVs that you can use to get around small areas, especially on terrain that has high like slopes, and you're not gonna flip. So yeah, I think we did it. I think we finally covered. I think we did it justice too.
I think so. I think this was it was fun to play. It was fun to try. It was fun to cover for the show. I think it's now thing that the harvest season has finally covered. It's the ultimate farming game. And I think this sort of proves a point that we were talking about in the news section, around why we are here and why we like cottagecore games, and it's not farming, right? Farming is just one of the things that cottagecore has evolved around, but farming isn't the core of what we're looking for in a cottagecore game. It is that small town, small community. Positive, close relationship sort of experience. And so maybe if any developers are, out there and you're thinking about games and what you need to build in, think about the feel, not the mechanics, right?
Yeah.
That's for me my takeaway from having played Farming Simulator is that's not the thing that I like about cottagecore. That's not the reason I'm here. It's the other stuff.
Yeah, and 2 pitches for any developers listening. First of all, I still want a game that teaches me how to take care of indoor plants. So it's like a game where you are watering plants and checking that they don't have diseases and stuff. And it actually is real because then I can know how to take care of my plants. That'd be great. Also a game where you can be an entomologist, where you can use traps to catch bugs and then, go through the specimens. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
I feel like there was a game that was, I don't think it was just entomology, but I know that you were sort of capturing and tracking bugs in a journal that's coming out. I want to say later this year. We covered it in our upcoming Games of the Year episode. It didn't look particularly detailed, but it definitely had putting a moth in a journal. I distinctly remember that.
Okay. Well, I will have to look that up. Okay. Where can people find you, Jonnie?
Well, as usual, if you want to, talk to me, yell at me, whatever, you need to go to patreon.com/thspod, sign up for the Patreon, join the Slack. Lots of activity in the Slack at the moment, particularly with A Wonderful Life coming out, a lot of people playing and talking about that. And there's been quite a few Greenhouse episodes lately. There's been a lot of news, so covering some of the news around things like the Wholesome Direct, where the games are maybe not directly related to cottagecore, but also just covering a lot of other sort of random topics. We talked about Eurovision at the start. There's some cool episodes on that, and the Greenhouse is just always a really fun sort of short little listen about the things that the hosts of the show are into. And so there's a high chance if you are into cottagecore games, you are probably into the stuff that is talked about on the Greenhouse.
Yeah. I was trying to think of like other things that we've talked about in the Greenhouse that I like. We talk about Pokemon games on the Greenhouse. We talk about Bev and I talked about actual research that we've done, or was that on the actual THS pod? I don't remember, but we've definitely talked about some fun things. You can find me online on Twitter at Codey Mathis. It's just my name. You can find me on Instagram at Hiking Beagle, Beagle, like a bee, Beagle. You can find the podcast on Twitter at THS Pod. You can give us feedback or see any links or show notes at harvestseason.club. As Jonnie already mentioned, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/THSpod. And that covers it. Hey, thanks again, Jonnie, for doing this with me so that we could actually cover this game.
No, it was a lot of fun, and I was really pleased that we got to chat about Farming Simulator.
Yeah, for sure. That does it for us, and until next time, have a good harvest.
The Harvest Season is created by Al McKinley, with support from our patrons, including our pro farmers, Kevin, Stuart, and Elisa. Our art is done by Micah the Brave, and our music is done by Nick Burgess. Feel free to visit our website, harvestseason.club, for show notes and links to things we discussed in this episode.
Gosh, I don't know why I'm yawning. It's 5 o'clock. You're the one at the early time zone.
It's like 9. It's 9 o'clock for me. It's easy. I've got coffee.
Ugh. I was up at 9. Yeah, I was actually getting coffee at 9.